Welcome, everyone. Today I'm presenting a usability study for the manufacturing process, Unpacking Complexity, Customer-Specific Packaging in Manufacturing. In this project, I want to highlight the challenges and inefficiencies that arise when dealing with customized packaging requirements. First, we'll take a look at the usability issues. Next, we're going to evaluate the impact of these issues on decision making. And finally, we're going to identify some solutions to solve these issues. Taking a look at the background, let's discuss why this study was needed. This particular company started off in a garage and quickly grew to be a global company with major sites across the US, India, and China. With specific government and aerospace contracts, the customer requirements for packaging were growing, and customers would request prototypes that included job or site specific packaging. After prototyping, these jobs were moved to production and would sometimes swap sites where directions and information wouldn't be as clear as they'd been to the prototyping group. So in this study, we looked at the challenges at the end of this process in the shipping department. Three research questions stood out, looking at the inefficiencies with customer packaging, the usabilities that affected decision making, and the pain points expressed by the team. This is our packaging team. Shown are some of the demographics of the team. Shipping is a difficult, often unskilled labor job with a high turnover rate. Almost all of these employees were present less than a year and expressed job dissatisfaction. This study used three qualitative methods to research the issues with inefficiency, usability, and obstacles that the staff faced. First off, contextual inquiry, where I worked alongside the staff, asking questions and working as one of the team to see the challenges that they faced in real time. Secondly, session recording was used, where I watched and recorded incidences and documented the process. Then I took a look at behavioral methods, taking a deep dive into some of the issues and seeing how they were resolved by each team member. These were all documented and sorted into categories for later analysis. Here are some of the insights that came out of this study. Remember when I said that shipping is an unskilled labor? Well, our team was asked to be detailed specialists on government and aerospace digital portals and able to navigate complex software. And those prototyping guys all had advanced engineering degrees and had never packaged a box or created packaging. Those instructions that they wrote with the best of intentions lacked clarity and just didn't translate well to the packaging staff. One of the qualities of the company was the freedom to get the job done in whatever way worked. Unfortunately, this lack of standardization led to low uniformity and high error rates. Without those standards, it's hard to have resolution. Each issue became subjective and prone to the mood and availability of the decision maker. So what do we see with the results? Well, it showed issues with workarounds where workers were solving problems without consistency or guidelines. Then there were those portals. These portals were a major issue as staff was untrained and there was a lack of time and energy to use the resources available for learning how to interact with them. Instructions were unclear and often scattered. Some orders had pieces of instruction in over 7 locations that had to be tracked down through a complex system. And instructions were often conflicting, leaving staff to make judgment calls that they lacked the knowledge to make without creating liability for the company. The following are just 2 examples of the results from each study. Each result was given a finding, a reason, and an action on how to resolve the issue. In this critical issue, instructions were scattered in multiple locations. In the image here, you can see on these paper instructions, they ask the user to look in the shipping instructions, which were located in separate instructional sets, and in the paperclip folder, and a document with a secondary company with an ambiguous title. In this particular case, moving all the instructions into one easy-to-find location supports the user in quickly finding the information and reduces the cognitive load and the chance of errors or omission. Here's another example where instructions needed to be clarified. In this case, the solution was to create instructions based off of a template to populate directions. Shown is an example of a revised instruction. These instructions would be both compliant with aerospace manufacturing, AS 9100 guidelines, and provide clarity and detailed information on actions to take. Next, we'll be going into depth with some of the proposed changes. These changes were recommended with suggested levels of urgency and a recommended timeline. This helps create an understanding of which items were most critical and help identify a path forward. For workarounds, standard training and standard operations were recommended. For portals, a dedicated team was recommended. For instructions, the use of templates, a single location, and standard verbiage was recommended. For standards, it was recommended that standard packaging be used whenever possible and that services were limited for custom packaging and included templates of available options to use. For resolution, it was recommended to hire a shipping manager to have accountability for the team and to use a current tracking system that was already available to determine issues that were arising in the shipping department. For future testing, it was this was given a standard timeline of progress to resolve some of these issues. Some of these changes will take up to a year to fix, and of course, once these issues are resolved, they'll need to be adjusted and monitored for new underlying issues that will pop up during the process. Thank you for your time. I hope you learned something from this study, and for further details on this study or a copy of the full study, please reach out to me on the links listed.